that we have been listening about 9 doors, 7 bodies, stuff like that. What is the significance in the journey of spirituality? When you hear these type of information, the number game here and there, 84 lakh, June, etc., please keep in mind that language is just a means of communication. The words by themselves have no significance. Most of this information comes to you because you are curious about a particular question, you inquiry, and you are given the feedback. Then somebody will say, well, what happens during death or after death? What dies? What takes birth? Then somebody might explain to you that the physical body is not the only thing. You are only familiar with physical bodies. There are other bodies within the bodies. And somebody might start talking about 7 bodies at that time. Or when somebody says how the energy is wasted. And somebody might point out and say there are 9 doors in the human body through which the energy is wasted. If you can block that wastage, you can then open the 10th door. If you talk about Kundalini, somebody might start talking about 7 chakras. So these are only to satisfy your curiosity. Knowing whether there are 7 chakras or 70 chakras for that matter is totally irrelevant to your practice of meditation or your own spiritual growth. If you knew it, fine. If you didn't know it, fine. There is no harm, no foul. So I would strongly urge you not to be sidetracked by the data, which is just piece of information. Stay focused on your daily routine and stay focused on how your soul is evolving. The only thing a human mind-body system should be worried about is, out of the 5 melodies that are given to the human mind-body system, which is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Ahankar, the desires, anger, attachment, greed, and ego. Those are the 5 melodies that are with every human, male, female, child, or old, young, is totally independent of that. A child has all 5, so does the old man has all 5, so does the old woman has all 5. The ratio changes of these things as the journey of life goes on. Spiritual objective is to eliminate 100% all 5 of them. Now, if any one of them is getting under control and you are not bothered by these things, then you are progressing on the spiritual path. If they remain the same, regardless of what you are doing, how many times you are doing, how much effort you are putting, it's meaningless. Say, for example, if you were to sit down every day, hour in the morning, hour in the evening, and practice the Naam chanting, and it has not given you any peace, and the very first thing that happens raises the anger, krodha in you, then all that effort was useless. It is true of all religions, it is true of all systems. I can do 5 namazes or 50 namazes if I am not getting closer to the dirt. Islam has taken the earth element as the means to get to there. Hinduism has taken water, the means to get there. Sikhism has taken the air as the element to get there. Buddhism has taken Akasha as the element to get there. Yoga Ashram has taken the fire as element to get there. So you can see all of these mystics took an element and used that to practice. So that's why in namaz, every 3 hours, you are touching the ground. What are you touching the ground for? You want to become dirt-like. No ego, 0 point. Now, if the ego is going up, even though you are bowing 25 times during the day, it's meaningless. Similarly, you can go and take as much ashnan, as much dip in the waters you want. If the mind is still the same clouded one, the body cleanliness is not going to do anything. So my answer to the questioner is, this is just information to satisfy your curiosity. Your focus should be, is the spirit rising up? Am I getting more quieter, less egotistical? Are my desires turning into contentment? Or I am still yearning and running after various things? That is the inquiry, and that inquiry should be done every day. Bande, dil khoj, har roj, bahar na pashemani jiyo. A human, just as you will cleanse your floor, every day you sweep the floor. Every morning, every evening. And you wonder where the dirt came from, but it's there. Same is the case with the human mind-body system. Every morning, every evening, look inside. Has it added some dirt of jealousy, of anger, of more desires? Am I following others? Chasing, well, the next door neighbor had this one, I should immediately go get it. If that mindset exists, then you need to work on it. And don't worry about the other information. If we need to discuss this any further, we can take it up after the session today. Last week we discussed Bhagat Kabir's hymn where he talked about that a saint, a person who is walking on the path of spirituality, keeps busy with the internal intoxicants, not the external intoxicants. So he talked about how the internal wine is made. And once it is available, what it does to the mind-body system is this: ऐसे ज्ञान प्रगट्या परखोतम कहो कबीर रंग राता और दुनि सब भरम भुलानी जन राम रसायन माता. Rasayan literally means the drink. It says a saint is interested in a spiritual drinking, not in the physical drinking. Physical drink will do what? It will affect the mind-body system. It will affect the muscle. It will affect your physical bones and muscle system. It's not going to do anything to your soul. And anything that is not doing anything to the soul is a useless thing. Aur duni sab bharam bulani. This is an illusion. Everybody is following a wrong concept. So wake up and follow the right concept. A mystic will tell you whatever you think today needs to be changed. What you are calling the blessing, that's really not blessing. That is a pain waiting for you. Let's take for an example. I win a lottery. Suddenly got $1 million. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? A person who is in the world will say it's a good thing. A person who is a mystic will say it's a bad thing. They are both looking at it in exactly the opposite way. Why? When you have $1 million, you attract lots and lots of friends which you never saw. Lots and lots of relatives which were never even there. They suddenly pop up. And what's happening when they show up? That $1 million is finding its way of slipping out of your fingers. You're making a lot of people angry and you're making a lot of people dissatisfied with you. Now you have it, now you are afraid of losing it. The moment the money came in, the fear of losing it came right with it. If you only had $2 in your pocket, the fear of losing $2 would not be as great as the fear of losing 1 million. So a saint will say, are you paying attention to what it is doing to your mind-body system? Can you have the million and not be worried about losing it? Can you keep that million without developing the concern of loss? If you can, you have become a saint. If you cannot, then you are an ordinary mortal being and it will do more damage to you. There is a story in the life of Kabir. Somebody brought a precious stone to him. Very heavy, precious stone. He said, I want to offer it to you. He said, what will I do with it? You should make a necklace and put it in your neck. He said, well, that's just carrying extra weight. I don't need it. He said, but now I have brought it from such a distance. What should I do with it? His son was sitting next to him and his son said, why don't you put it over there on the top of the wall? So he put it there. Some people started thinking that Kabir's son has agreed for it because he did not let him take back. Few years went by, that businessman came back and asked him, he said, what did you do with that stone? He said, what stone? I gave you. He said, I never took it. Then where is it? You mean you lost it? I don't know. Go find where you put it. So he goes there on the wall and it's just sitting there. Whether it is there if somebody has, what had happened if somebody had taken it? So what? Whether it is there, it did not affect me. If it's not there, it's not going to affect me. You didn't have it with you and it has been affecting you. You drove back again thinking the first question I'm going to ask is, where is the stone? Who was impacted more, me or you? Now, when you develop that type of thinking, you start going away from the worldly things and start getting closer to the spiritual things. And that's what Kabir was trying to tell us. Aur duni sab dharma bhulani, man ram rasayan mata. I stay intoxicated with his spirituality, with his word, with his naam, with his meditation. Why can't we be like that? Next hymn is by Bhagat Beini. Beini is also contemporary of those things. Not much is known about his place of birth, but he stayed in Punjab for quite a while. And there are only about 5 hymns from him. But when you read them, you find at what level he is coming from. Renar Garab Kundal Madhyabe Aachhat Ur Dhyan Levelaga Mitak Pind Pand Madana Anas Ek Agyan Sunaga. Beini is trying to answer that question. Why can't we not be like that? He says, Renar Garab Kundal Jab Aachhat. When the consciousness enters the womb of the mother. Now we have talked about this, that this is a controversy even in the medical sciences, and they are arguing left and right. A mystic says that's an absolute foolishness to argue about when does the life get into the womb. After the 6 weeks of pregnancy or 10th week of pregnancy or right before the birth, when does it happen? Gurwani will tell you that it never left. The life energy was always there. It's not a question of when it entered. It never left. After all, what is the process? Male energy, female energy join hands to build a machine. But they cannot join hands if they don't have the energy themselves. Male energy has to have the energy to move, to get closer to the female energy, and the female energy has to have the energy to receive the male energy. Once they shake hands, they start working together. And what are they? Assembling a machinery. Right? If you want to go to Radio Shack and buy a few resistors and capacitors and things like that, and you bring it and you spread it on the table, and you start assembling a radio. Once all the parts are put in together, you put the power in and the radio starts speaking. Did somebody put the energy in the radio? That energy is already there. Same way, the life energy had never left anywhere. It never goes anywhere. It never comes from anywhere. It is the instrument when it becomes ready to manifest that energy, we start seeing it. As the child is born, if the child is breathing, we know the child is alive. But what is our first attempt? To make the child talk. Isn't it? We want to hear the first cry. Why is that? Because his presence will not be felt unless there is a cry. So, we make the child talk, child cry. But the Beini is saying, Renar Garab Kundal Jab Aachhat. How did you survive those 9 months, 10 months? You are there from the moment number 1. How did you still survive? He says, Urd Dhyan Levelaga. You were in complete meditative state. How? Right? I mean, it doesn't have lips, it doesn't have... What does he have? It is consciousness. That consciousness is there. That consciousness is in touch with the creative forces. If it was not in touch, it would not be able to grow. After all, our body can stay right here. I can just be sitting like that and that energy taken away. All the parts are there, end of discussion, nothing left. The existence is because of that energy. Existence is not because the mother is doing something or the father is doing something. Existence only because someone else is doing something. And that consciousness is in touch with that someone else. And that relationship is maintaining the process. What happens when the fetus aborts? That's exactly what it was. The contact was broken. That's it. The contact is broken. No more development. Panic button. Button is pushed. All the parts are pushed out of the system. No more life growing up. We call it life growing up, but it isn't the life growing up at all. It is the body growing up. Life remains there no matter what. It was there before, it is still there. If that connection is broken, the continuity stops. So since you are with that, मृतक पिंड पद मदना अहनस एक अज्ञान सुनागा. मृतक पिंड. Mृतक literally means which did with this no life. So if we look at the dust is inert in its nature. It does not manifest any life. When does the earth manifest life? Pour some water on it. What happens when there is rain? We suddenly find those little worms coming up. Where are they coming up from? The relationship of moisture with the earth, that connection gives rise to that body, that worm. So he says, this body, which is like the dirt, मृतक पिंड पद मदना अह निस एक अज्ञान सुनागा. If you are without the awareness of that creative energy, if you are agyani, if you don't know about that, then you are so as if you are not there at all. So naga literally means your being there is equivalent to not being there. But that's a spiritualist way of looking at it. What do you mean I am not there? I have my hands, I have my legs, I have my head, I have my legs, I have my body, I'm talking and you think I'm not there? Because you didn't hear me. Let me try to explain you once again. Mritak pind pad madna. If you are not aware of the real process, ahnas ek agyan sunaga. Ahnas means day and night. If day and night you remain without the awareness of what is driving you, then you are good as not being there. Because you don't know what's keeping you alive. Well, I am alive because I am breathing. Alright, fine. You say you are breathing? I would ask you to stop breathing. Let's see how much you can not breathe. Right? If you are the breather, then you should also be able to become a non-breather. Can you become a non-breather? नहीं हो सकता. So if I cannot stop breathing, how I can make a claim that I am breathing? How ignorant. How naive. Breathing is happening. You are not the breather. Breather is somebody else. That somebody else you need to keep in mind. The gratitude is for that breather, or the one who is breathing inside you. You are not breathing. You have no capability to breathe. You can never breathe. The breather is much higher, much bigger than you. And if you are not even conscious of this much, you call that I am alive? No. This is what keeps you away from. This is what Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar keeps on binding you to the earth more and more. You are not able to rise above the little things of life because you are not aware of the fundamentals of life. The fundamental of life is there is a much bigger, separate, higher entity that is making this thing happen. You can name the entity your way you want. There's no problem with that. You want to call him a god, fine, go call him a god. You want to call him a man, go ahead and call him a man, because whatever you call him is going to be wrong anyway. Whatever word you choose is going to be incapable of describing. He's neither a man nor a woman, not an animal, not a bird, not a plant. It's a pure consciousness, purest form of energy without any adulteration in it. When I call adulteration, all those things that we are involved with is adulteration. Why? Because we are concerned with the flesh. If the flesh feels good, I'm happy with it. If the flesh feels pain, I must do something quickly. Sarmad was a Sufi saint. He was killed. And when his butcher came to cut his head, he put a black shroud on his head, which they normally do. And Sarmad started laughing. He says, Allah, you think by putting your head in a shroud, I will not be able to see you? The guy who's the executioner is ashamed of what he is doing, and the one who's going to be executed is saying, what are you worried about? It's the same energy, just doing different things. Go ahead, run your sword. I want to see how it feels. Where is this coming from? The connection is with that energy, not with the body. We are always concerned with the body. Mystics are always concerned with the spirit. And if we want to be blissful the way they are, if we want to feel the same quietude and bliss as they feel, then we have to change our thinking. We have to get the essence of the fundamental principle which Bhagat Beini says, Te din samal karast mahadukh abchit adhik pasarya Garab chod mirt mandal aya to narhar mano bisarya. Te din sambal. So you need to remember that moment. You need to remember those days when you were in touch. That was what was causing your survival. That was what was helping you to grow and develop all those muscles and bones and tendons. You need to remember that. Because if you don't remember that, te din sammal. Remember that. Kashta mahadukh apachit adak pasarya. Right now, what has happened to you? He says, you have come out of the womb and immediately got lost in the world of senses. When the child is born, what senses are we feeding for the first time? What the first touch? Mother's touch. What is the first sense? Food. So she's holding and she's feeding. The child is playing. What my connection was, where I was, is forgotten. Okay, you can say, no, wait a minute, you are not being fair. He doesn't have the tools yet to know the difference. He needs that for his survival. Absolutely right. So when you were born, you had an excuse. What's your excuse now? Why are you forgetting now? Well, what should I do when I want to sit down and remember? My wife comes in and say, well, who's going to mow the lawn today? Or we have to go to this party, or we have to do this work, or we have to repair this thing in the house. So earlier it was the mother who was keeping you away, and now it is the wife who's keeping you away, or husband who's keeping you away. So you always have an explanation, don't you? It's not going to work. ते दिन समल कष्ट महादुख अब चित अधिक पसार्य. Now you are lost in multitude of these things. गर्भ छोड़ मित्र मंडल आया तो नर मनो विसार्य. You left the womb of the mother and you came into this world. Mirth mandal. This is called mirth mandal. Means in here, whatever is born is going to die. No exception to the rule. Whether it's a plant, whether it's an animal, whether it's a bird, whether it's a human, whether it is even a stone. We just discovered that with this earthquake of 8.8, we lost a hill and the earth shifted from its axis by 3 inches. It's not pointing out to the North Pole exactly the way it was before. It's 3 inches off where it was pointing before. It was so big. So mountains and oceans and the waters also vanish. We get confused by the relative scale of time. A flower is born and dies within 3 months. And a bird might survive 5 years. A human might survive 70 years, but eventually it is going to go. That's why this earth is called Mritmandal, the dimension of death. Literally translated. Mritmandal means dimension of death. Well, if we take a pause here and say, how many of us really call it a Mrit? Do we call it Mritmandal? Right? We call it life. And Shane is calling it Mrit. A mystic is saying, wake up. You are here only for the temporary few days as if you went on a vacation somewhere. And you have to come back home. You cannot permanently live there. Garab chhod mrit mandal aaya to nar mano bisarya. Then complete forgetfulness. And if there was any, that's why we say that children are innocent, because they are still remember something of their past. They are still closer to God. That's why we do that. There is an Indian tribe, a interesting discovery that happened with me. They have a tradition because they are uneducated. So when they give promise to each other, they keep a young child close by. And as they shake hand with the promise, they hit the child on the head with a stone. Child will have a memory of that event when they are not there. He becomes a witness to that their promises, that they made this promise. How did I find out? I have been hit on the forehead at the same spot for more than 7 times. My skull cracked, they put it back together. And I was asking him, is there something wrong with my memory? And he said, well, I am not a medical doctor, but from a spiritual point of view, you are not hit to forget something, you are hit to remember something. You know, what that is, if you can remember, fine. If you cannot remember, continue working. Where this thought came from? This innocence of the child. A child can be witness to the spiritual things, and the older civilization have used it as a meaning of reminder. I made this promise to, and the child remembers it. He is a witness. How he remembers it? Because he was hit. The hitting creates association. No, he hit, literally hit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course you will cry. I haven't got this to the man. He described to me and I'm describing to you. The point is that the child's innocence has been used by various people in different ways. What Bhagat Beini is talking about is the child's innocence got lost as he started growing and growing, and there was no means to pull him back. And now, if you are surrounded in a company like this and somebody is reminding you, you will not be able to say, nobody told me. I didn't know that I am supposed to remember something. So if you don't, फिर पछतावेगा मूढ़िया तू कवण को मत भरम लागा. The saint is washing his hands off. Because I have reminded you. And let me also tell you, फिर पछतावेगा. A moment is going to come when somewhere you will be accounted for this and say, why didn't you remember this? And if you say, well, nobody told me so, you say, Being born in certain system of thoughts, attending certain get-togethers, certain sanghas, certain crowds, is not without the meaning. They are for the purpose of starting a process, initiating something. So he says, if you don't pay attention, फिर पछताएगा मूढ़िया. O naive one, you are going to be repenting to kavan kumat dharma laga. Kumat means the wrong information. Bharam means the things that are doubtful, unnecessary, this and that. You are lost in that. Chetram. Nahi jampur jayega, jan bikre anurada. Remember him. Remember that energy. Remember that connection. Because one day you are going to have to leave this planet. Who's that you? That comes to the question. What is leaving is talking to that you, not this. Body isn't going anywhere. It's going to be just buried or burned right here. Something is going to travel through the other dimension. It's addressing that something, saying, Jampur jayega man bichre narada. Right now, you are lost in the jungle of the world, sensual pleasures, someday that is going to be taken away from you, and you are going to travel to the other dimension, and in that dimension somebody is going to ask for the account. What is that account? Not how much did you earn and how much did you spend, is how well did you remember the connection. How much time did you spend? क्या तय खटिया, क्या गवाया? So the question is only simply going to be, were you able to maintain the connection? If yes, for how long? And were you able to overcome those melodies of the greed and the anger and the desires and the attachments and your ego? If you are not able to, then there is going to be price to be paid for it. बाल विनोद चिंद रस लागा खिन खिन मोह व्यापे रस में समेद अमृत दिख चाकी तो पंच प्रगट संतापे. So he's now expanding on that. He says, look, as the child grows up, the attachments are growing, the desires are growing, likes and dislikes are growing, the ego is growing. Nothing is being done to reduce it. Nobody is making any effort. If any effort is being made, it's the opposite. What do we tell our children as parents? You can do whatever you want. You can get whatever you want. You put your mind to it, you can have it. And what is that having? A bigger bike, a bigger car, a bigger house, a bigger this, a bigger that, a bigger this. We never sit down with our children and tell them the real purpose. I tried once. I was chastised like hell. Don't you teach children the wrong things all the time? And all I said, the real work, my older son had just graduated from the dental college. And I sat down with him and I said, son, your real education hasn't started yet. This education is just to make a living. Real education is something else. Mother overheard it and she shot back. Don't you put the wrong things in his head. We don't like it. Any one of the parents here who would like their children to become a saint? A Buddha? Right? Don't we all want either them to be the doctors, engineers, attorneys, businessmen, whatever, president of the country or whatever? Would you be happy if your child comes and say, I want to be Sufi saint? And Bhagat is saying, therein lies the problem. You are at the root of the problem. Don't tell me society is doing this to you. Society is doing absolutely nothing. You want to be like everybody else. You don't want to stand alone. And the funny thing is, without standing alone, you cannot grow at all. Ever seen the military marching? The person who's the captain of the team, does he march alone or not? Right? He cannot be in the row where the rest of the candidates are marching, right? And bigger he becomes, from the captain to the lieutenant to the general to whatever, more loner he becomes. Right? The crowd on this side, the general on this side. We never observe it, that as we go higher, we have to be alone and alone and alone and alone and alone. What is this tendency? I don't want to be alone. Then you never, if you don't want to be alone, you are never going to be great in anything. You have to be alone. So we keep on teaching the children the wrong thing. So their spirit keeps on getting smaller and their ego starts becoming bigger. And then the same ego one day stands up right in front of you and says, don't you dare talk to me like this. I make more money than you did all your life. The same son will stand up in front of you. I made more than 1 year than you made in your life. I deserve some respect from you. The equation turns upside down. Why it is happening? It's the result of our thinking. We never said humility is a characteristic. We said no, meekness is a weakness. Humility is not to be cherished. Be egotistical. Nobody should be able to suppress you. You should be greater than the greatest. And then what happens? Suddenly when the rug is pulled down, you fall down, crashing, coming down. Higher you go, harder you fall. And since the spirit remains weak all the time, he's saying, Bal binod chindarat laga khin khin moho beape. The attachments keep on increasing. Ras made. Ras literally means the taste. Made amrit bikh chaki tau panch pargat santape. All these 5 punch, literally the 5 melodies, they continue bothering your consciousness more and more and more. You have ton of money, yeah, but for sleeping you need the tablet to go to sleep. And then you overslept and then now you need the tablet to wake up. And now both are reacting and you are uneasy and you can't sit in the chair. The story of life. We like this life? Fine, continue. We want to do something different? No, we want to bring some gratitude, some peace, some blissfulness, then bring some humility. Then remember that connection. Where is that connection? Jap tap sanjam shod sukrit mat ram nam na aradya. That's where it was. You left everything. Jap, tap, sanjam. You know these words, and I don't need to translate these. You understand the language. Jap na karna, tapasya karni, ya simran karna, meditation, all these. Yeah, you have left all of them. That was all needed. And if it affects us, what do we do? Alright, I am supposed to be doing meditation 15 minutes a day, so I'll do it when I am drinking my cup of coffee and, I don't have the time to sit down and have a cup of coffee. I'll do that when I'm driving and drinking a cup of coffee and I'll meditate also. What are you doing? I'm multitasking. See, I'm being efficient. Well, since I don't have the time, I have a tape. Alright, I'll run the tape. I'll go to the bathroom and run the tape of meditation. Om, 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 om. We make mockery of everything and we think we are being smart. You are not outsmarting anybody but yourself. And Bhagat Beini has always said, you are going to have to account for it. Have no doubt about it. The world is not going to change its rules and regulations because you are someone special. Because your mother told you so. You are someone special. Prahlad's mother told him, if you want something, then you are going to have to do meditation. Dhruv's mother told him, if you want the love of your father the way the other son is, you're going to have to go and meditate. I don't know where are those mothers today. I have no idea. And that you have, make no mistake about it. Upbringing the children is dependent upon the mother. Have no doubt about it. Just because you are calling that you want to be equal to the man, it's not going to make the nature's law any different. Janani, the mother is the creator of the man, as well as the destroyer of the man. Read the story of Mahabharata. Duryodhana was destroyed by the mother. And Dharmaputra was saved by the mother. You can read the details. Mother is responsible for what the child becomes. It makes us uneasy. But that's not a human, it's not a man's law. No, the men are in a majority and they are more powerful, so they are making these laws. No, my dear. The Creator made it. That's a design by the Creator. Mother has been given complete rule over the earth. Any woman who wants to be equal to the man actually wants to be reduced in stature rather than growing up. You are greater than all humans put together. A single mother can make the world or destroy the world. Go talk to Ravana. That's all Ravana's mother wanted. I want you to rule the entire universe. That's my desire. He couldn't rule anything. Why? Because that very desire became the root of destruction of Ravana and the entire Aachhat tribe. They all perished. What needed to be taught was jap tak sanjam chod sukrat mat ram naam na aradhya. Aradhan की लोड़ थी, मेडिटेशन करने की लोड़ थी. उछले काम काल मत लागी तो आन सतत गल बांधया. If you as a child, you were not taught. Then what happened? He said, then you grew up and the physical energies, natural forces started now pulling you in a totally different direction. Sexual energy became more prominent in your life than anything else. That's all you could think of. How to find the outlet for the energy. And then what? So, well, you get the companion to provide you with that. The moment that relationship happened, everything else went to the past. No, total indulgence in the enjoyment of the flesh. उन्मत्त काम महाबिक भूले पाप पुण्य न पछाणिया. जब तक संयम छोड़ सुकृत मत राम नाम न आराध्या. उछले काम. The sexual energy rose. Kal mat lagi. The time is now catching. The body is now growing. So an sakat gal bandya, and then the opposite sex came. Sakat literally means the spouse. So now the two have joined and they are now completely lost. Forget about the God and forget about the life and forget about the energy. All there is the flesh. तरण तेज पर त्रियमुख जो है सर अपसर न पछाणिया उन्मत काम महाबिग वाले पाप पुन न पछाणिया. Now, what is holy and what is unholy? Its discussion is totally irrelevant. Everything is being driven inside. One of the things that the East did very well, and it's being proven now, even to the West, they manage the sexual energy very, very early. The early marriages were exactly for that reason. Now they are discovering that the unhealthy the children are because of the mother giving birth at a much later age. The health of the eggs, they are studying how women ovulate and how they reproduce and how the intensity is reducing by the day and what is it doing to the offspring. And they are reaching uncontroversial because they are backed by so much data that all these diabetes, childhood diabetes, the obesity, all of this lack of intellectual prowess is because of the later age births. And if the income household are to survive, then there's not much of a choice. You can either pursue the economics. There were times in India, by the age of the 20, 25, the child production date was done. That was it. They will get married around 16, 18. By 20, they will have the first child, and by 25 or so, 2, 3 children. Good enough. They will be busy raising her. But the Beini today is pointing out that the sexual energy has become, it was then also the same thing. It is 500 years later we are reading these lines. They apply like a tea. We already know it. We don't need to go study the data. We know the children will become lazy. We know the children will become obese. We know they will get sick. Their arteries will harden sooner, and the diabetes or heart problems, all of that. Autistic children, the attention deficit disorder, all of those things are the result of late pregnancies. And they are connecting the dots. So it says, Unmat Kama Mahabek Bole Baba Pumna Pachaya. The negative and positive, the distinction between that was completely lost. सुत संपद देख एही मन गर्भया राम हृदय ते खोया अवर मर्द माया मन तोले तव पग मुख मुख जन्म बिगोया. And that this is what led to the complete destruction of a sensible life on this earth, because pursuit of the outer at the cost of the inner. The gap between inner and the outer is growing more and more and more. And the result, Ram Hriday Te Khoya. It's completely gone, completely lost. Avar Mart Maya Man Dole, Taupag Mukh, Janma Vigoya, Kundal Kes Kusunte Dhaule Sabat Patal Ki Bani. Kundal Kes literally means white hair, grey hair. It's now the age is coming. And those who recognize that factor and say, age is setting in, Now they suddenly want to change something. But the body doesn't cooperate. The health doesn't cooperate. The children don't listen anymore. Why? Because they were not made to listen when there was time. Now when they are in their middle age, they are certainly not going to pay attention to the old man. And it literally becomes an old man. So what does happen then? There's a beautiful joke going around on the internet that God was making the world and he first made a dog. Made a dog or no. Somehow I don't have the sequence in mind. Basically, eventually the man becomes the dog at the end. Because as a child, we are busy playing. As a young, we are busy reproducing. As we get to the middle age, now we are struggling with the various mid-crisis of the middle age. Suddenly, was this right? Was this wrong? How to put it back together? It doesn't work. In this struggle, the old age sets in, time is lost. Go back and repeat the cycle all over again. So that was Kundal Kes Kusumte Dhale Sapat Patal Tibani. Now you cannot hear that what was meant to be heard. Lochan Samre Balbudanathi Ta Kam Pavas Madhani. Lochan Sarma. Now the eyes are giving up. The ears are giving up. Buddha Balanathi. The intellect doesn't pay any attention to it. Ta Kam Pavas Madhani. All the desires are now bothering. Nothing worked out. Is it always to it? Was I supposed to live like that? Tate dikhe bhai mat pavat. Kaya kamal kumlana. Avgat baan chhod mit mandul tau paashe pachkana. Oh my friend, eventually, if you don't pay attention, now when there is a time left, you are going to repent over the lost time. It's an irreversible process. You cannot bring it back. Nikutti de, dekh dhanu bje, maan karat nahi buje, लालच करे जीवन पद कारण लोचन कछु न सूझे थाका तेज उड़या मन पंखी घर आंगन न सुखाई बेनी कहे सुनो रे भक्तो मरण मुकत किन पाई. Wonderful message at the end. He says, remember the nirvana, remember the freedom from the cycle of life and death is not going to be attained after you leave the earth. Marana mukat kenapai. If you want to achieve anything, it has to be achieved while you are alive. It has to be all completed in this life. Don't think that marne hi te paiye purna permanent. That's wrong translation. After death, there is nothing. Only accounting. Whatever you want to achieve, you have to achieve in this dimension. So, with this, we will conclude today's hymn. It's a very long hymn. I have not been able to do full justice to this because every word, every line will take more time. So, if there is anything to be discussed, we can discuss as a separate question answer. With this, we will conclude. Thanks all for coming. And if I said anything that offended anybody, I sincerely apologize for my ignorance and arrogance. And if something touched, then take it as a message from the beyond. That was meant for you.